Shalom, everyone. Let's talk about the biblical earth, which I believe is a flat, domed earth. Now, there are many people out there that when this subject is brought up, they will simply say, why does this subject matter? What difference does it make what the shape of the earth is? Okay, I'm going to leave two links in the description box below from the excellent channel, The Truth is Stranger Than Fiction, with testimonies. Basically, they were just comments on videos that he has made on this subject. And the comments are from people, and they are describing how they have come into the faith because of this subject, or their faith has been rejuvenated. Now, that right there is reason enough as to why this subject matters and why it is very important. I mean, after all, if this is true, and if the earth is a circle, a flat circle, enclosed in what the Bible refers to in English as the firmament, then there has been an enormous level of deception employed to hide this matter. And to the extent that things have, been taken in order to hide this fact, in order to hide this about what the Word says regarding the earth, then it certainly matters to the enemy of mankind and the enemy of our Creator, Satan, okay? So if it matters that much to him, it should matter to you too. Now, also I'm going to leave a couple links to the excellent teachings by Messenger of the Name regarding the Father's name and the Son's name, restoring the Creator's name, and what is His Son's name. And I just want to mention that in the beginning of restoring the Creator's name, he states that we are told that the earth is a sphere. Now, I will simply say that I disagree with this assessment, and that's it. Now, in Genesis 1, or anywhere in the Word, are we told that there are other worlds out there and that there are other beings living on other worlds? No, I don't believe we are. And I remember a pastor once told me, I was kind of new. I was coming into the faith and I wanted to learn things and so forth. Now, this was in late 2013. He told me that Satan found a place here on earth, and this is where he was able to employ his deception, resulting in the fall of man. And apparently everywhere else that he tried in this so-called universe was unsuccessful. And I remember just thinking, well, how does he know that? We are not told that anywhere. That is nothing but an assumption. Okay. John 3:16. For Elohim so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, so that everyone who believes in him should not perish but possess everlasting life. Elohim so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. Now, let's think about this for a minute. If there is a vast universe out there, and there are a great multitude of other worlds, other planets, either they are inhabited or they are not, okay? Even if one or two is inhabited, there is other life out there. Now, if he gave his only begotten Son to come here, okay, for salvation as a Savior, then either these other worlds are not fallen, okay, the inhabitants of these other worlds are not fallen, and they live in a perfect state of paradise in communion with Yahuwah. Or the universe is barren of other life, because once again, we are not told that there is other life or other worlds out there anywhere. Okay? And if it is the case that there is no other life out there, then why did he make it all? Just because he can? I mean, does that really make any sense? Okay? He makes the earth, okay, and then just these ridiculous amounts of space in between so-called stars, which the Word tells us that stars are messengers, okay, but science tells us that they are these giant gaseous balls like our supposed sun, which is supposedly 93 million miles away and supposedly a great deal bigger than Earth. Okay. Does it really make any sense that he would make millions and millions and billions of stars and planets and all this stuff out there with no life on it just because he can? I don't think so. That doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. But what does make sense is what the word describes is that we live on a flat circle enclosed in a firmament, and that his throne is above this firmament, that he is close. That is what makes sense. And I propose to you, and I very strongly believe, that these faked NASA moon missions, okay, what they were really about was supposedly proving once and for all that, yes, the Earth is a ball, just like we had said that it was, and that outer space exists, which was a given at the time. Okay, so we supposedly go to the moon between 1969 and 1972, and then never go back again. Now, why is that? That always seemed odd to me. Now it makes perfect sense, because all they were doing all along was simply, as part of this massive deception of creating this fake space and this ball Earth. Because the result of this is people are much less likely to believe that the Bible is the word of truth, okay, and that there is a creator. They're much more likely then for their religion and their faith to be in so-called science. And that is the purpose of the deception, to hide the creator, to hide Yahuwah. And that's what it's about. It's a satanic deception. Okay, I'm going to read from the book of 2nd Baruch. Now, Baruch is a scribe of the prophet Jeremiah, introduced in the book of Jeremiah in the Standard Canon in chapter 36. And there are extra biblical books in this great book called the Sefer, C-E-P-H-E-R. You can get one at sefer.net, and it contains all the 66 books of Standard Canon plus 22 extra biblical books. And 2nd Baruch is a book of fantastic prophecy. And so I'm gonna read a verse from that. This is 2nd Baruch chapter 14 verse 18, and it reads, "And you did say that you would make for your world man as the administrator of your works, that it might be known that he was by no means made on account of the world, but the world on account of him." So my interpretation of this right here is what this is saying is that we are his prized creation. We really are. And then he made this world for us. Now, the purpose of this deception is so that people believe, because evolution, the whole notion of evolution ties right into this notion of these vast reaches of space and so forth, this so-called Big Bang. And what people are going to believe from that is we are completely insignificant, existing on this little tiny speck called Earth, just pointlessly flying through space, circling around the sun, which is, racing around this, giant galaxy and so forth, and that there are, countless galaxies and blah, 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 and it's like, well, why? What is the point? And a lot of people come to the conclusion that there is no point and there is no meaning whatsoever. And the result is they do not live by any proper moral code whatsoever, and they live by the maxim proposed or promoted by Aleister Crowley, which is do what thou wilt, because they don't believe in anything. They don't believe in a creator because they've been sold this tremendous lie. Okay, also from 2nd Baruch, this is chapter 39, verses 5 and 6. And this reads, "And after these things a fourth kingdom will arise, whose power will be harsh and evil, far beyond those which were before it. And it will rule many times as the forests on the plain. And it will hold fast for times, and will exalt itself more than the cedars of Lebanon. And by it the truth will be hidden, and all those polluted with iniquity will flee to it, as evil beasts flee and creep into the forest." Now, the point that I wanted to get to, this fourth beast system, this fourth kingdom, I believe without any doubt we are living under that now. Because this is a worldwide system. It is international in scope, generations old in planning, incredibly evil in intent, just like Lawrence Patton MacDonald said. And this describes that very system. It is harsh and evil far beyond those which were before it. And part of that harshness and part of that evil is tremendous deception to deceive people so that they will have no relationship whatsoever with their Maker and with their Messiah, Yahuwah. Okay, the truth is hidden by it. The truth of everything. The truth of where we come from, where we're going, and who we are. That is essentially, they hide these fundamental truths by this system. All those polluted with iniquity will flee to it as evil beasts flee and creep into the forest. So those who are attracted to the system of mammon, they want to join this system and be a part of it. I propose to you also that these so-called astronauts are really nothing but Freemasons who are playing a role. They're actors, essentially, playing a role as spacemen. All right? Now let's look at Isaiah chapter 40, verse 22. Now, by the way, this subject has been covered extensively for the past 3 years, and probably my favorite voice on the matter is Rob Skiba, and he's got an excellent website and an excellent channel. The website is Testing the Globe. It's either .net or .com, but testingtheglobe.net, and it has just got a great multitude of Bible verses proving this matter, I believe. Okay, Isaiah 40 and 22. It is he who sits above the circle of the earth, and its inhabitants are like grasshoppers, who stretches out the heavens like a curtain and spreads them out like a tent to dwell in. Now, the important thing that I want to bring out here is that where we see the English word circle, the Hebrew word is chug, which is CHUWG, Strong's Concordance 2329. And the definition of chug is circle, circuit, compass. Keep that in mind because this word compass is going to appear in another verse that we're going to address here in a moment. Okay, so Isaiah 22, 17 and 18. See, Yahuwah is hurling you away, O man, and is firmly grasping you, rolling you up tightly like a ball into a wide land. There you are to die, and there your esteemed chariots are to be the shame of your master's house. So where we see the English word ball here, the Hebrew word associated with that is a completely different word than the word chug associated with circle. And the word that we see for ball, Strong's Concordance 1754, it is D-U-W-R, doer. Okay, and the definition is circle, ball, or pile, roundabout. Now, that is a little bit different. Although circle appears here in its definition, if the earth were a ball, we would not see the English word circle like we do in Isaiah 40:22. I just wanted to differentiate those two things right there in those two verses, ball and circle, that there is a different Hebrew word for this. Because a circle and a ball are completely different things. Okay, so if ball appears here in Isaiah chapter 22, then when the earth is being described, we should definitely see the English word ball appear, but we don't. Okay, Proverbs chapter 8, verse 27. When he prepared the heavens, I was there. When he inscribed a circle on the face of the deep. Okay, so that's Proverbs 8:27. Again, chug appears again for the word circle. And I think it's also interesting. Now, he inscribed a circle on the face of the deep. Now, I would think that you would mold a ball that's just in vast empty space. But that seems like an odd way to describe the creation of the earth if it were a ball hanging on nothing and going to fly through space. Again, for what purpose would that be? Okay, and then Proverbs 8:29. When he gave to the sea its law, so that the waters would not transgress his mouth, when he inscribed the foundations of the earth. Okay, so the word that we see for foundations, the Hebrew word for foundations is Mossad. MOWCAD, Strong's Concordance 4144. And the definition is simply foundations. Now, why would he inscribe the foundations of the earth if the earth is a ball hanging on nothing flying through space? It just seems like an odd way to describe the creation of the earth in this manner. Okay, so this is from the book of 4 Ezra, also known as 2nd Esdras, and this is also from the Sefer. And the fourth came and overcame all the beasts that were past, and had power over the world with great fearfulness, and over the whole compass of the earth with much wicked oppression. And so long time dwelt he upon the earth with deceit. All right? So, the earth is described here as a compass. Okay? So, again, it was, what was that word? It was chug. Okay, chug. Definition, circle, circuit, compass. Okay, so here we see a different English word in compass to describe that, describe the earth. Deuteronomy chapter 13, verse 7. Of the mighty ones of the people which are all around you, near to you or far off from you, from one end of the earth to the other end of the earth. Okay, so the English word end is the Hebrew word associated with that is katseh, Qatseh, Strong's 7097. The definition of that, from where we get end, is an extremity, border, brim, brink, edge, outmost coast, shore. Now, that seems like a very odd way to describe a ball, okay? That describes something that is flat, that has an actual end, just like the word katseh says. Okay, Genesis 1:6 is where we first see the word firmament. In most English Bibles, you'll see the word firmament. And the Hebrew word associated with that is rakia. Strong's Concordance 7549. It's RAQIYA. And the definition is visible arch of the sky. All right? Now, here is a verse from the book of Job. And I looked on Bible Hub for this. I'm going to read two versions of this from the King James and from the NASB. All right. From the King James, Job 37:18. Hast thou with him spread out the sky, which is strong, and as a molten looking glass? Interesting. From the NASB, can you with him spread out the skies, strong as a molten mirror? Now, I went to Bible Hub and looked at 20 different Bible versions, the common English versions for this, and they all were describing the sky that is described in this verse, Job 37:18, as like a molten mirror, a metal mirror, hard as a mirror. That is something that is physical, and this is describing the firmament, the dome over the flat earth. Okay, 2 Baruch chapter 21, verse 4. Oh, you that have made the earth, hear me, that have fixed the firmament by your word, and have made firm the height of the heaven by the Ruach, that have called from the beginning of the world that which did not yet exist, and they obey you. 2 Baruch 21:4. Okay, from the book of Enoch, and there are many more verses which describe a dome, the firmament over the earth and the ends of the earth. There are many verses throughout the word regarding this. I have a lot of them in notation in the Sefer in the scriptures that I read. I'm just bringing out a few here. I encourage you to look into this yourself. He is close. That's the beautiful thing about it. Okay, this is from the book of Enoch, chapter 18, verses 2 and 3. I surveyed the stone which supports the corners of the earth. I also beheld the four winds which bear up the earth and the firmament of heaven. Now, this is Enoch chapter 18, verse 8. I perceived at the extremity of the earth the firmament of heaven above it. Now, I've taken that to mean that Enoch perceived, okay, so he wasn't necessarily at the extremity of the earth himself, but what he perceived was at the very end or extremity of the earth. He saw the firmament of heaven reach the extremity of the earth. I'll read that again. I perceived at the extremity of the earth the firmament of heaven above it. Now, that is a pretty powerful verse right there. I love that. Enoch chapter 33, verses 1 through 3. From there I advanced on towards the north, to the extremities of the earth. And there I saw a great and glorious wonder at the extremities of the whole earth. I saw there heavenly gates opening into heaven. 3 of them distinctly separated. The northern winds proceeded from them, blowing cold, hail, frost, snow, dew, and rain. So he is talking about the extremities of the earth once again, and that he saw there heavenly gates opening into heaven. There's a whole lot more in the book of Enoch as well. Okay, Enoch chapter 92, verses 22 and 23. Who of all men is able to understand the breadth and length of the earth? By whom have been seen the dimensions of all these things? Is it every man who is capable of comprehending the extent of heaven, what its elevation is, and by what it is supported? Now, somebody who believes in this scientific model is going to read this and think, well, this must be some sort of nonsense fairy tale right here. Certainly, how could a believer reconcile this with what science has told us? Well, perhaps it is the other way around. Perhaps science is the fairy tale that we've been sold so as not to believe in our Creator and not to have any faith whatsoever and to live by the maxim of do what thou wilt. And I propose to you that is exactly the purpose of this deception, to destroy our minds, to destroy our hearts, to destroy our being altogether. It is about the degradation of His creation, man. Okay, from the book of Sirach, this is also from the Sefer. All wisdom comes from Yahuwah and is with Him forever. Who can number the sand of the sea and the drops of rain and the days of eternity? Who can find out the height of heaven and the breadth of the earth and the deep and wisdom? So when we see these verses and it's talking about, who can know these things? Who can find this out? Well, evidently NASA said that they can, and they show us this image, the so-called, the famous blue marble. But here it's like, who can do this? Because you can't, from what I gather from this, a person really cannot go up into, several hundred miles up or whatever and actually perceive how big the earth is. We don't really know. That is what I get from these verses right here. Okay, and I encourage you, look deeper into this matter. It's an absolutely fascinating subject. Again, watch these videos that I'm going to leave in the description box by The Truth is Stranger Than Fiction and Messenger of the Name. Thank you for listening.